What if you lived in the wild for 1 year? There are some things you must know before you enter the wild. Do you think you can survive a year in the wilderness with no technology, no food or water? Imagine what would happen to your body and how you would feel after spending a year in the wild. You may be surprised at the outcome. Would you be thinner, fatter, taller, shorter, stronger, weaker, more muscular, or less muscular? Stick around until the end because we have the answers to all of these questions and many more. Be prepared because this could change your life forever. So let's dive right in. Your skin would be permanently tanned. If you were naked and exposed to the sun every day for a year, your skin would turn black. But since you won't go naked in the wild and you will wear clothes, your skin will turn a nice shade of bronze after a few months of being outside. And when you take off your clothes, you will notice that the places where the fabric rubs against your body will be white due to lack of sun exposure. 2, you will lose a lot of weight. You wouldn't need to diet or exercise to lose weight. Instead, you'd lose weight by simply surviving in the wild. How much weight you'll lose depends on your current weight. If you weigh 120 pounds now, you might lose 40 or 50 pounds after a year of living in the wild. But if you weigh 200 pounds, you might only lose 20 or 30 pounds. People who live in the wild constantly expend energy to survive, which results in weight loss. You will have to move from place to place, search for food, build shelter, and do other things to stay alive. All of these activities burn calories and result in weight loss. 3, your hair will grow long and wild. If you lived in the wild for a year, you would not have time to cut your hair. Even if you had a knife, you wouldn't use it to cut your hair. Instead, you would use it to perform other tasks, such as cutting wood or preparing food. As a result, your hair would grow long and unkempt. Some animals in the wild have to groom themselves constantly in order to survive. For example, a lion must keep its fur clean and tangle-free in order to hunt effectively. Humans, on the other hand, do not need to groom themselves in the same way as animals. However, if you lived in the wild for a year, you would quickly learn that grooming yourself is important for survival. Without regular haircuts, your hair would become a tangled mess. And if you didn't bathe regularly, your hair would become dirty and infested with parasites. In addition, long hair can be difficult to manage, especially in hot weather. It can get in your eyes and make it hard to focus on tasks. In cold weather, it can also be heavy and make it hard to move around. All of these factors would make it clear that you needed to groom yourself regularly in order to survive in the wild. 4, you will gain muscle mass. You would probably gain muscle mass if you lived in the wild for a year. You would have to move from place to place, search for food, build shelter, and do other things to stay alive. All of these activities require the use of your muscles, which will help you gain muscle mass. People who live in the wild have to carry their belongings with them wherever they go. This includes things like food, water, shelter, and clothing. Carrying all of this stuff requires the use of your muscles, which will help you gain muscle mass. 5, you will have calluses on your feet. Calluses are areas of thickened skin that form on the soles of your feet as a result of friction and pressure. When you walk barefoot, your feet rub against the ground, which causes friction. This friction causes the skin on the soles of your feet to thicken. Calluses can also form on your hands and other parts of your body from friction and pressure. If you were to live in the wild for a year, you would likely develop calluses on your feet. This is because you would be walking long distances barefoot in search of food and shelter. You would also be carrying heavy loads on your back, which would put pressure on the soles of your feet. Over time, this would cause the skin on your feet to thicken and form calluses. 6, your nails would be long and dirty. If you lived in the wild for a year, you wouldn't have time to cut your nails. You would be doing other things instead, like looking for food and building a shelter. As a result, your nails would grow long and dirty. Your nails would be dirty because you would be touching a lot of dirty things in the wild. For example, you would be handling dead animals and plants, and you would be walking barefoot on the ground. All of these things would make your nails dirty. In addition, your nails would likely grow faster while you're in the wild. This is because your body produces more dirt when you're exposed to the elements. The extra dirt helps protect your body from the sun, rain, and wind. It also helps prevent infections. So if you lived in the wild for a year, your nails would likely be long and dirty. 7, you will have scrapes and bruises. If you lived in the wild for a year, you would likely have a lot of scrapes and bruises. This is because you would be doing a lot of activities that could cause injury, such as climbing trees, walking on uneven terrain, and fighting off wild animals. In addition, you would likely be carrying sharp objects such as knives and arrows. These objects could easily scrape or bruise you if you're not careful. Finally, the weather in the wild can be harsh. Storms, floods, and other extreme weather conditions can cause injuries such as cuts, bruises, and broken bones. 8. You would be taller. It may seem surprising, but it's true. If you lived in the wild for a year, you would be taller than you are now. This is due to a phenomenon known as spinal fusion. When humans are young, their spines are made up of individual bones called vertebrae. As we age, these vertebrae begin to fuse together. This process starts in the lower back and works its way up. By the time a person reaches adulthood, the vertebrae in their mid and upper back have usually fused together. However, this process can be reversed in some cases. If you lived in the wild for a year and did a lot of physical activity, the vertebrae in your spine would likely start to separate. This would make you taller. Unfortunately, this effect is only temporary. Once you stop doing physical activities, your vertebrae will start to fuse together again. 9. You will be more muscular. You will be more muscular if you live in the wild for a year. This is because you will have to do a lot of physical activity to survive. You will need to move from place to place, search for food, build shelter, and defend yourself against predators. All of these activities will require the use of your muscles, which will cause them to grow. In addition, you will likely eat more meat than you do now. Meat is a good source of protein, which is essential for muscle growth. Finally, you will be sleeping outside in the fresh air. This can help improve your circulation and oxygenation, which can lead to increased muscle mass. 10. Your body would be covered in scars. If you lived in the wild for a year, your body would be covered in scars. This is because you would be exposed to the elements and constantly at risk of injury. For example, you could be injured by falling trees, wild animals, or even the sun. In addition, you would likely be carrying a heavy backpack with supplies. This could cause blisters and cuts, which would eventually turn into scars. Finally, you would likely be sleeping on the ground without a mattress. This could cause pressure ulcers, which would also leave scars on your body. And no. 11. You will be strong. If you were to live in the wild for a year, you would be stronger than you are now. This is because you would need to do a lot of physical activity to survive. You would have to carry heavy loads, climb trees, and fight off wild animals. All of this activity would make you stronger. In addition, you would likely eat more meat than you do now. Meat is a good source of protein, which is essential for strength. Finally, you would be sleeping outside in the fresh air. This can help improve your circulation and oxygenation, which can lead to increased strength. Now check out what happens to your body if you sleep under the stars. Or check out what happens to your body if you go for a long walk every day.